You leaned your forehead onto the door, mentally exhausted after a short interrogation session back at the commission. You felt like a heavy weight just dropped onto the square of your shoulders, and all you wanted was to drain your mind. Think of nothing. The mule of Toka caught your ear, spotting the black cat rubbing against your legs while you stared at the floor. You couldn't help the smile that curled by the corner of your lips until a large pair of arms hugged you from behind, his lips pressing and grazing the back of your neck. "Welcome home, kitten," he purred, the somber bass of his voice tickling your back. You groaned with a lilt, holding onto his arms and leaning back into his chest, staring up at him with exhausted eyes. Hey. You watched his lazy smile before he laid a peck atop your head, grabbing a hold of your hand and led you to the couch. The weight of your body flopped onto the plush cushions, exhaling a sigh of relief from the mental strain you experienced in the morning. As if by second nature, your hand trailed up Shinsou's neck, fingers gingerly caressing his ear before they ran through his messy bed hair. You smiled at the touch, pressing against his scalp, almost massaging into it. A deep hum thrummed in Shinsou's throat, his head pushing against your fingers before he leaned into your shoulders, soon enough laying on your lap. Your hands followed suit, still laying tenderly in his silky hair. "Feeling better?" he asked, his eyes looking up at yours. "Now that you're here," you murmured with a weak smile. "So much for a good start to the year." "That bad, huh?" "No." "Yeah." The tension returned in your head, leaning back into the couch while your fingers drew small circles in Shinsou's hair. Tactile sensations took your mind away from, well, your mind, for the time being. "There's just things I want to tell you, but not right now," you groaned. You stared at the ceiling, eyelids heavy from the mental strain, but now feeling relaxed against the fabric of the couch. Shinsou's fingers grazed against your skin, soon trailing towards your cheek to caress and tickle the back of your neck. "My turn," he smirked, lifting himself up from your lap and holding your head on his shoulder, his fingers now running through your hair. With every stroke of his fingers, you dissolved into them, now absolutely thinking of nothing but his touch. "Thank you," you uttered, softly, drifting. His chuckles filled your ears while he masterfully combed through your hair, enjoying his gentle touch, his hushed sweet nothings, and the beat of his heart washing away the heavy burdens that pressed on your mind. "Oh, sorry." Todoroki sat on your desk chair in the middle of the agency's office, perusing over a few reports on your desk while you detangled his long hair. After a morning on patrol and getting caught up in minor felonies, it was a quiet moment the both of you shared, even amongst the noise of the office with all the sidekicks. Still, the amount of salt that was trapped in his fibers was astounding. "Well, at least the beach was quiet," you spoke. "And sorry for the misdirect." "It's okay," he replied, still reading through the reports. You're still getting used to that outfit. The new scuba outfit had helped functionally, but maneuvering was still a tad difficult. A crash of waves into Todoroki was definitely a sight to see. Returning back to the agency was interesting in itself, after removing as much moisture from Todoroki's outfit, which left it crusted with salty residue from the sea. That also included his long locks, now with your fingers brushing through the salt that wrapped through its length. Todoroki immediately changed into something more comfortable after stepping foot into the agency, dressed down while he continued reading the witness reports on your desk. His brow was tense and his eyes stared at the words in front of him. All accounts from a week ago, when his brother roamed about. Oh, he mused, feeling the tug of his hair from your fingers. Sorry, you apologized again. Oh. It had been half an hour now, but his long locks continued to tangle every now and then, parting to each side while they draped over his shoulders and his back. It felt therapeutic, despite the few tiny pulls that warranted his monotone reaction. It was a habit when you started playing with his hair, rubbing your fingers from the back of his head and over his scalp. You heard him purr under his breath, that concentration he held waning from his shoulders while he lifted his head into your fingers. Does that feel better? Very much. There on his lips was a smile, one that you finally witnessed ever since his birthday. Todoroki had been overworked, much to his discretion, after finding more reports about Darby making their way to your desk, and inevitably directed to him. His fingers still loosely held onto those reports, but seeing his calm eyes relaxed from all of the stress was the reward you wanted. Your fingers soon masterfully combed through the last of his salt-ridden hair, until you began to braid it all together, his red and white intermingling together in a kaleidoscope of their own. There! That should hold, you announced, semi-proud of the tousled braid that ran down his back. Hey, what? A tug at your waist later, and suddenly you were thrown into Todoroki's lap, his arms wrapping your frame, almost tickling you while he nuzzled into your neck. He didn't mind the sidekicks in the office sharing their stares at his public displays of affection. Thank you, love, he whispered in your ear, tickling your neck. Oh, don't thank me yet. We'll have to wait and see what kind of curls your hair will come out later today.
Will you stop squirming?
I'm just a little nervous.
Being around Bakugou, whether during your work hours or between your homes, was clockwork. But sitting still for photos, you were surprised Bakugou handled the situation well. Being one of many cover poster heroes for Musatafu did have its perks when it came to his patience. But having to pose with you for engagement photos was a challenge. You typically worked behind the scenes in your professional career, heading the local hero network, organizing the chain of information, and also being a patrolling hero yourself. Photographs, or at least posing for them, was another world in its entirety. The flashes every now and then caught you off guard, half the time aggravating Bakugou due to having to stay posed for several more shots for contingency's sake. You even wondered if the photographer was doing it on purpose.
Oh my god, you two are the cutest.
piped the photographer with a chirp in her tone.
Maybe one more pose and we'll call it. I've got plenty of material to work with.
Aside from the usual lovey-dovey and generic poses you've seen in wedding magazines and photography sets, it felt like Bakugou and yourself had done every one of those imaginable.
What more?
Complained Bakugou with a scowl.
You've already taken enough.
Oh, Bakugou, you can't be too sure with what your fiancé would like, right?
She teased with a sly grin, her smug eyes eyeing you from behind the lens.
I think we're good.
You piped.
It's been a couple of hours already. Oh, you're no fun.
You sighed nonchalantly at the photographer, noticing her calm and yet overly joyous nature around Bakugou throughout the session. She was a sought-out photographer for magazines and modeling studios in Musatafu, and Bakugou always sought out the best. It was then you noticed his hair a little mussed and out of place, which would seem unimaginable considering the state of his hair almost every day. But it was one tuft, even a strand, that wasn't sitting as it should. Your fingers brushed it in place, or at least attempted to, a few times noticing that it wasn't listening to your whimsy and command. Bakugou turned his eye towards you, watching your attempts but also allowing you to continue on, finally brushing the misplaced tuft of hair back into its original spot. Your fingers lingered against his fringe, feeling his breath waft against your skin and a gentle smile on his lips. Despite the furrowed brows, he happily watched your hands work what magic you held, smiling at you while you smiled back. The connection that the both of you shared was a world in its own. The flash of the camera took you out, as did Bakugou, the both of you turning towards the photographer who gushed at the sight, her thumb merely hovering tiny inches from the shutter button.
That was perfect!
She cooed.
Oh, if only we could have more. I think we're good now.
A large hand grabbed a hold of the back of your head, its crown nestled in its palm, before you felt Bakugou push you into him. He laid his head against yours with a tight grip, yet his fingers pressed gently through your hair, almost caressing your crown.
Oh, yes! Bakugou certainly never disappoints me,
cheered the photographer while she took more snaps of the both of you in this intimate pose. You turned your gaze towards Bakugou, spotting that smirk on his face. Playful, cheeky, and downright cocky. He certainly never disappointed.
Oh, wow. This is really thick.
You get used to it.
Your fingers ran through Kirishima's hair, slick and covered in red dye. It didn't take long for you to discover that the red wasn't his true hair color, spotting some of his black roots peeking through after months of training with him at Fat Gum's agency.
I'm surprised you've been keeping this up by yourself,
you commented while you tried to grab your bearings with your hands.
At first I used to visit hairdressers, but I eventually learned how to do this myself, even getting the right tone of red.
He perked with a toothy grin. That was an understatement while you eyed the products he had in his bathroom alone. The amount of hair product this man had rivaled most models you had encountered in the hero scene. Though it consisted mostly of gel, mousse, hairspray at full strength, hair dyes of almost most shades of red, bleaching products. Well, reconsidering that list, that didn't include the amount of hair care, Kirishima had stashed away as well. Your hands continued to massage his hair with red dye until it was completely coated, grabbing for the cling wrap that laid ready in wait for the next step. With every pull and tear, you wrapped his scalp within the plastic film, giving a few rounds to ensure his hair was safely tapered too.
There, all done.
You announced, pulling off the red-stained gloves into his bathroom sink.
I guess you probably have to wait an hour?
I usually make it 2.
He answered, turning to face you.
Just to be sure the red has settled into the roots.
Doesn't the bleaching hurt though?
You asked, pointing to his roots. You recalled seeing an entire patch of blonde on his roots when he greeted you by the door. He had already mentioned he got through stage 1 of his hair dyeing routine after he had asked for you to come over to hang out.
It used to, maybe sting a little, but I found better products and methods to combat that.
He answered.
That, and maybe I've grown a tolerance to it.
Oh, man. It's strange to talk about hair with you.
You commented while you washed your hands over the sink.
I never knew I was in the presence of someone with that kind of experience.
Kirishima's toothy grin and chuckle caught you off guard before he wrapped his arms around your frame. His lips pressed against the back of your head, smiling into your hair with a cheeky air.
I could give you a few pointers,
he remarked, ruffling your hair.
Or dye yours too.
Nah, that's your trademark.
You kindly declined, smiling at his touch, playfully tussling your hair in a mess.
We could be twinsies.
You cupped your mouth with your hands upon the snort that escaped your nose, feeling a wash of embarrassment creep up your neck. All you heard was a hefty laugh, hugging you tighter in his arms.
You're adorable, you know that.
Thank you for tuning in to a short headcanon kind of read. If you like what I do or would just prefer to fall asleep to my voice, please ring that bell, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel. Y'all know what to do. Thank you for visiting. I hope to hear from you soon, next we meet.